Hey, what's up? Scott Balkum here with Imagination Creation Films, and today we're doing a fun and simple technique called replication.
Replication?
Ah!
What's that?
Pretty sure that's what we're doing right now. So before we get into today's technique, I want to take a moment to ask you to go ahead and click that subscription button and the little alert bell next to it. That way you'll be notified every time I upload a video or if I'm doing a live stream, because you really do want to know and I want you to know. So this is a pretty simple technique where you're basically copying and pasting yourself multiple times within a scene.
Ooh, I gotta get in on that.
Get in on what?
The copy-pasty thing.
I'm pretty sure you're already in it.
Cool.
Can I finish?
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, this technique is typically done with a split screen, but I wanted to do something just a little bit different.
Ooh, I like ice cream.
Who said anything about ice cream? I said split screen.
Banana split is ice cream.
Anyway, you can also do it with a green screen.
You smell like chocolate.
What is wrong with you?
You're the one that doesn't like ice cream.
I never said I don't like ice cream. I said green screen.
Green ice cream? What's that like? Lime?
No. We are not talking about ice cream.
Hey, they got ice cream in here. They got ice cream.
Okay, so maybe that was just a little bit silly, but it served a purpose. It was to demonstrate the multiple ways that you can actually pull this technique off. And in fact, you may need to use multiple ways to pull off your technique if you're having multiple people in there at the same time, or if you're shooting 2 different days, or if you don't have an actor that shows up on set that day and you need to pick them up later, or if you're having multiples of you. I mean, this was used in Multiplicity and goes all the way back to Freaky Friday and many other different movies all the way back in history. And it was typically done with a split screen, but now with green screens, it's even more fun to do it that way. So what we want to do here is we want to dive in and see the various levels that we did. So what I've done here is I have gone into where all of the characters are on the screen at the same time, with the exception of the back guy. You may not have noticed the person in the background, but we have many different layers. We have a background, we have the person on the left, we have the person sitting at the desk, we have the creepy guy that comes in, we actually have a person that is in the window itself that pops in there. So, I mean, you can see him there. You saw him at the beginning, but you actually didn't see him at the end because of bad planning. And again, I do this in about an hour. This one took me a little bit longer, I'll give you that. It was about two and a half hours to shoot everything. And I did everything kind of off the cuff and then kind of composed it, wrote it down, and then went from there and rehearsed it. So a couple of things we're going to show how I did it, not too terribly in-depth. If you want me to go in-depth into how to key and to do all of these things, I'm happy to do another tutorial on that. I want to show more the effect of this technique and the layering that took place, and then kind of show what you should look out for and the things that when I do this one again, which I will at some point, the things that I will correct and the things to look out for, because I made several mistakes in here and some of them cost me time later in post. Some of them just look silly. In the end, I mean, it was pretty much sellable. It wasn't the best, but you get the idea. All right, so let's dive in to the screen here. And yes, you can see that I have a bottom right, a creepy, a desk, a lefty, and a background. And really what that comes into, I'm just going to reveal these one at a time, is the different layers that I created. So background was actually the actual wall and the person behind. So you can see them, and you know, it's me. He's in the background over here. And because of lack of planning, really, and not enough time spent planning, I was covered over that window, unfortunately, so you didn't actually get to see him at the end. But we had this background, and the background is really just the wind blowing, the curtains flopping, and just a clean slate all around. Okay, next we have the desk. Now, the desk was actually shot against a green screen. And you can see the desk here. Let me turn off the background. And you can see where I've cut out with a mask. Let's go into the desk and let's just see what we did. Let's see here. So we've created a mask, which, there we go. So this is the actual shot as it was. And the first thing I wanted to do was I created a mask that basically went around this area right here, just so we didn't need to capture everything else in the frame. And then I also went down the desk on all sides and just made the desk a simple little item itself. Now, by doing that, now I came in with this background. See, the background was not entirely lit well, the green screen itself, but it was fairly even, and I was able to pull a really nice clean key out of that. I did a little bit of extra work to do it. The creepy guy took a lot more work, and we'll go into that one here in just a minute. So the first thing I did was I added a Lumetri color correction over here, and all I was doing was I was selecting with HSL secondary, I was selecting the green background color over here, and I was making it far more saturated down here. That kind of helped by selecting the multiple points of green. It kind of helped even out that background key. So then I was able to pull that in, bring in an Ultra key. And Ultra key right here, what we did was we keyed out the background. And because I had a matte, or a garbage matte, as you would call it, around everything, it just turns everything to black. Now, the green screen here, these are all the settings that I used. Yours will completely vary depending on the color of the green, depending on how well you lit it, all that good stuff. So we're not going to go into detail on this. And then I added a little Lumetri just to bring down my level just a little bit ahead of time. And I did shoot this in log or vlog from Panasonic, so everything has kind of a flat finish. The desk is a good clean key. There were no problems with it. The things I want to point out here is a little bit of planning that I actually did do right. And that is, you want to light, if you're going to light for green screen, you need to light for the environment that you're going to be placed in. So myself here, I am going to be behind a window with the sun blasting through. So if you see here, you see a little gold on the top of my hat. And that is because there's going to be sunlight blasting through from that background. So I put a quasar bicolor light above it just to kind of give me a little bit of a gold hair light. Also to help separate me from the background a little bit. I was using quasars to light the green screen, actually. It was my first time playing with that. I was in a very tight space, so I didn't have a lot of room to play with, but I had one on the ground, and then I had the ones that were doing my desk shining behind it. So as you can see there, once I have this nice key done, it actually layers quite nicely over the background. And I did not move my camera at all through this entire ordeal. Yeah, well, set up. But you can see we've got a light coming through here that is yellow and sunlightish, and then that kind of hits just slightly on the top of my hat, selling that I was sitting in front of that background. I actually wasn't, and what I had done to shoot this background here, so if you notice here, there's no table in it. I pulled the table all the way out, and unfortunately that exposed the quasar light in the window reflection, and you can kind of see that right there. I'm not happy about that, but you know, sometimes we just learn from what we're doing. I'll tell you another one that I saw in post, but it's so nitpicky. I've got these nice little orbs here, and they didn't reflect what was coming into the scene, so that didn't help sell it. I would do that differently next time. Either remove the orbs or maybe not even do the green screen on the creepy guy, but we'll get to that one in just a moment. So now we've got the desk here. Next, what we have is Lefty, and Lefty is the person that is camera left. So he is shot without the desk at all. The desk has been pulled back. Again, you can see the light in the window. Unfortunately, that's just from the same shot. So we basically shot 2 scenes with the desk in place, and then the rest of the scenes with the desk all the way pulled back. Now, this is a live shot. This is not a green screen or anything in post. The only thing we've done here is we've added in a mat around it so that we can just keep him separated from me at the desk. So I created this nice little mat that went around it, and then I set the opacity, or actually the feathering of it, to where it was a little soft and wide. And then I also had to add a lumetri to this one to kind of brighten it up because it was actually a little dim. Okay, so now we're going to go in. So we have Lefty, we have the desk, and we have the background. And you can see they're fairly close. I feel like I'm a little bright here compared to Lefty, but Lefty's in the background, so it might make a little bit of sense for Lefty to be a little darker. Now, what we're going to do is bring in Creepy Person. Now, Creepy was actually the most difficult one to do because I didn't light the green screen well. So I'm going to show you, again, all of these, and then I'm going to show you what they were shot at so you can actually see. So Creepy here, we will reveal. Creepy comes in, and he's standing right there on the right. Now, Creepy was done as a green screen. Again, it wasn't very well lit, and the table was in place. And the reason I needed that table in place was because the green screen was not tall enough. It's a little silly. Next time, I would just do it with the full curtain green screen, and I actually kept saying I needed to use it over and over again, but it would have slowed me down by having a large 10 by 20 green screen flying in there and then pulling it back out, as opposed to just a screen pop. We have several different things done, mostly because it was really badly done. So let me just kill off that. So you can see how this was shot natively. The screen pop is right in front, and then I had to make sure that when I walked in, I did not exceed this line of the green screen. Therefore, I had to limit my actions. And it took a couple of takes before I finally figured out exactly where to stand. Again, put a T marker on the ground so that you can hit your mark. I mean, that is what they're for. Because of this green screen being so badly lit over here on the right side, it caused me a lot of problems because there's actually a little bit of green in this really bad robe. So the first thing I needed to do was I needed to add some lumetri color, and that was again using HSL, the secondary color, and taking the greens and really saturating them, brightening them up, shifting the color green, even adjusting the hue a little bit so that I could get a cleaner green because it kept pulling the green out of the robe. Next, we're going over here and we're going to add in the Ultra key. And the Ultra key, again, I'm not going to go through all of the settings. There were quite a few that I had to adjust to get that as a good, clean key. But in the end, I got it. It's probably 98%, 99% clean. And then over here, we did another lumetri, and that was to shift my color back to the way it needed to be for this shot. Now, I do have to add back in my mat up here, or my mask. Now you can see that I have just a me against black, And then I've cut out with the mask, and we'll go over here to the mask shape itself. And you can kind of see that I just masked myself out. And then in using the desk. Having that desk there was actually a nice saving point because it gave me a hard line to actually mask out. Okay. So that is in place. Next, we have a little correction here called the bottom right fix. So if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, you will see that the screen pop itself is just oval. And because of that oval, it showed up. And so I needed to fix this. So the way to fix that was, let me put my Ultra key back on. And then we're going to go back over here and get rid of creepy. And we're going to see the bottom right. The bottom right is basically an animated mask. And as I walk through, I basically move it in place and then come back and just leave it in place. And I don't ever step back over it, so I can just leave it after that fact. And then I added an overall color correction over everything, which basically brought it back to life out from log. So let's just add all these back in. And you can see that is how it was done. One of the things that I did here and how I lit this, so I do have the two quasars that are kind of over and under the desk. That's my live stream setup. It's also when I'm sitting at the desk setup. You can see here, this is the setup that I had, and I do have that yellowish, that a tungsten balanced light above casting a yellowish glow onto my hat. I was daylight balanced for the whole scene. And then here's the green. If you notice, the green screen is actually offset a little bit because I needed to react to the person behind me. And so I shift over when I do that, and I need to make sure that I didn't crop my elbow out of that. Let's see what else is in this. Yeah, there's a light stand in here. We don't care because we went and masked this all off with the table, so it never shows up. Not a problem. Let's see here. What's the background? So the background here, you again see the quasar as I move the desk back. This is the scene as it was lit. I do have a light above the clock over here, just shining down to get rid of a shadow that was being cast by various objects in the room. And that's why you kind of see this bottom shadow, but it kind of would be like an overhead light, would be the motivation of it. Behind the window here, if you've seen it, there is a plant. There's also an aperture 300D blasting through sunlight. It is a daylight balanced light, but I do have a straw gel over it, and that helps to kind of give that late in the evening sunlight. I also had a fan blowing through the window to help sell that was outdoors. You know. Oh, logistics of shooting this. Basically, the way I shot it was I first shot myself at the desk, and I did the whole thing rehearsed. So I had my wife in there saying the lines of the other participants so that I could react to them. And she did it kind of quietly back against the background. So we ran through it many, many times until I got the timing exactly the way I wanted it. We recorded it about 6 different takes just so I could feel confident. We chose the one that was best. And then we took that file and we went to my computer in the back of the room, and she played that video back so that when I played each of the other characters, it was blasting through the speakers. I could then react to the actual audio of the person that was at the desk. Now, a couple of points here that I did not like, and these are nitpicks, but things for you to keep track of. And ultimately, I could have resolved it just with a little more planning, and if I had just paid attention. But if you look here at my eye line, I'm not looking necessarily at me, and the person at the desk is not looking up here. I have no sense of how tall I actually am when I'm sitting, apparently. But I would have liked to have been maintaining better eye lines. Now, one way to do that would be to place a tennis ball at the actual eye height and put it on a C-stand and place it in frame. It wouldn't have been a problem on this desk shot because I would have masked around it and it could have been there. So I could have had me standing there and then I would have been able to have something to eyeball at. The same thing when I was shooting lefty. I could have put a tennis ball on a C-stand right where I was sitting. And then I could have maintained the eye level and eye contact for the person sitting there. Another thing I didn't like was the creepy guy. I was hoping because I was using green screen that I would be able to interact more with myself and where I could like smell like really close to my neck. The problem came in was the green screen wasn't big enough. Again, I do things a little bit fast just so I could spit these out and challenge myself. I know what to do next time, and that's what we do this for, is to learn and better ourselves and proceed and learn from our mistakes and keep going. Also, if you look between the scenes here, this is the first intro before I pop in because I didn't think about that ahead of time and I had to reshoot that after the fact. And then, I placed a pin right here. Continuity, really, really pathetic. I'm better than that, and we all are. So if you if you really want to pay attention there and you're keeping score, hey, look, a pin shows up. Why does a pin show up? I'll tell you why, because I wrote the script while I was sitting there in between the takes. So I think that covers pretty much everything. And if you do want to see any further breakdowns of the individual items, I'm happy to do so. I could do a chroma key or a green screen technique if you want to learn that one. Happy to do it. Just leave a comment down in the section below. Also, if you do have any questions or comments, do just put those in the comments below because I do try to read and respond to each and every one, even if it's just to say thank you. Also, follow me on any of the social medias. You can find me at Scott Balkum on everything. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. I'm there. Friend me. I'm happy to be friends. Interact with me. I'm happy to interact. Also, I do have a Patreon. If you want to support me in all of my endeavors here, I would greatly appreciate it. There's a link in the comment section below. I'd only ask once per video, but I would greatly appreciate it, and I do appreciate all of my Patreon supporters so far. Also, if you are looking for any of the gear that I'm using, I do put Amazon affiliate links down below. Click on those, and you can save the same amount of money as normal, but I get a small percentage of the sale, and you're helping support me that way, so I appreciate that. Also, do remember to subscribe and click that little alert bell because I am live streaming a little more often now, and I want you to be alerted as to when that happens. So the best way to do that would be click the little alert bell. It also lets you know when I upload a video. So as always, as I like to leave it, don't let your passions center around your life. Let your life center around your passion.